Jalen Hurts is perhaps one of the most intriguing players in the NFL. The 23-year-old has started in just over a year's worth of games now, and so it seems fit to do a preliminary breakdown of Hurts as an NFL prospect. For a brief introduction, Hurts is a 23-year-old quarterback from Houston, Texas. He was one of 3 big-time quarterbacks for Alabama during their national championship stretch, including both the starter Tua Tagovailoa and Mac Jones, who was a year younger. Hurts was a second-string quarterback at Alabama, and he could never pass Tua on the depth chart, and thus he transferred to Oklahoma for his final year of college. Hurts flourished as a senior at OU, finishing second in Heisman voting, and may have won if Joe Burrow didn't have arguably one of the best seasons in college football history that year. So clearly, the talent is there for Jalen Hurts. Nobody finishes second in the most prestigious award in sports with no talent after all, and he was drafted in the second round, further proof that his talent is present and well sought after. He could arguably have been drafted even higher, maybe even in the first round, but the Packers' questionable and now obviously poor pick with Jordan Love ensured that Hurts would be a second-round steal. Hurts hasn't necessarily burst onto the NFL scene, however, and today we will look at the question, can Jalen Hurts be the franchise guy for the Philadelphia Eagles? Let us start by looking at the good side of Jalen Hurts. The first thing you notice on his film, and even watching him casually, is his explosiveness. He is unbelievably fast and can outrun any linebacker tasked with the quarterback's spy. His speed makes him a serious threat on the ground, where he has 740 rushing yards this season alone, adding 10 touchdowns to his resume as well. Just watching him, especially as a Washington fan, it's terrifying every time he touches the ball, since you never know if he'll pop off a 50-yard run or tear your defense to shreds. It's hard to game plan against such a quarterback like Hurts, especially when they can effectively throw the ball and stretch the defense. It's even harder when that same quarterback can throw on the run, which is one of Jalen Hurts' skills. Hurts has a tendency to leave the pocket, which I will talk more in depth in a second, but when he's left the pocket, the defense still has to maintain coverage. Hurts' ability to throw accurately and powerfully on the run allows him to buy time for his receivers to get open and more lanes to open up for himself to scramble. Even if the first stage of the play or the design play falls apart quickly, Hurts has the skill set to still find success in the midst of failure. Now, let's look at the areas that still need improvement. The same strengths that he boasts can also come to haunt him, as Hurts often leaves the pocket much too early for a play to develop. He often gets stuck on his first read, and when the intended receiver isn't open, he drops his eyes and runs around. While he may be a good runner, that strategy will never have long-term success, as the pass attack can never become a true threat to the defense. Added to his tendency to evacuate early is his apparent sluggishness in his reads. When the first read doesn't come to fruition, but he stays in the pocket, Hurts often moves extremely slowly through his following reads. He drags his head across the field, leading to more sacks or needing to leave the pocket when there could have been a play that Hurts simply didn't see yet. One prime example was last week's game against the New York Giants, where Hurts apparently ignored a wide-open Dallas Goedert in the end zone. Hurts really struggles at reading a play as it develops, and one simply can't stop in the first read in the NFL. Naturally, I think Hurts will have more time to figure out his reads, but that's a conclusion that will come at the end of this episode. An issue that comes along in his fixation on the first read is an apparent tendency to stare. While Hurts stares down his intended receiver before throwing the ball, opposing safeties are able to slide down and force incompletions, and in the case of a bad throw, easily intercept the ball. He risks further interceptions with an apparent lack of anticipation, which requires the quarterback to expect the break of a route by his receiver rather than waiting for the receiver to get open to throw the ball. Anticipation is something that many quarterbacks can get away with lacking in college, since the play speed and level are toned down, but in the NFL, defenses will easily stop Hurts' passes if he continues to lack anticipation when passing. Hurts has a good arm, but you can see his arm struggle on occasion. For some reason, Hurts' arm strength appears to falter greatly in the intermediate passing game, which isn't the greatest issue and most likely will be solved by simply growing his confidence as he gains more experience. One last area for improvement lies in the deep ball, where Hurts' accuracy is inconsistent. Many times he will leave a deep ball in play for a defensive back, when his receiver has enough separation to catch the ball with better placement. The deep ball is especially devastating in the hands of a scrambling quarterback like Jalen Hurts, but because he can't consistently land those important throws, as well as his receiving core not being wholly sound enough to catch everyone that he lands, Hurts does not threaten defenses as much by stretching the field vertically. So now comes the point of conclusion. Given the analysis of his recent film, in which he shows tremendous talent, but inconsistencies with many important aspects of being a quarterback, we must now answer the question, can Jalen Hurts be the franchise guy for the Philadelphia Eagles? My answer? No, not yet. While Hurts' talent is undeniable, he still lacks in so many important areas of being a franchise quarterback that you can't put too much faith in him yet. While I don't think that right now he's poised to be the guy for Philly, I still think that the Eagles should build around him in the upcoming draft, or at least wait until the second to get a good value quarterback, since his class isn't historically strong. Hurts won't be the reasons for the Eagles to perform at a marginal level this season, but he also won't be the reason that they win more games than expected unless he can improve himself in many areas, which I broke down earlier. I still think Jalen Hurts should be given more time by the Eagles front office to work himself out, seeing that he was a second rounder and was stuck behind Carson Wentz on a bad Eagles roster for a while. Hurts is a talented man, and even if the Eagles move on, he certainly won't leave the NFL scene until he gets another shot, and since I do think with proper coaching, he can become a starting caliber quarterback. Thank you for listening.